And the last one is Agile model. What is Agile? The big question of the Agile is, okay, you see the waterfall model, you see the spiral and the iterative model, but there is one thing that you have in the iterative that is not work well. You need to sit, if you remember the iterative, you need to sit and define all the requirements of the project. However, after a lot of projects fail, the people start to see that when you start one project, in the first moment of the project, the people don't know exactly what he wants. If you use this time to define the requirements, most of the requirements is a copy paste from the current system that the people use. Okay, but the idea of the agile first is, okay, we can move it a little ahead. Okay, you don't spend a long time with these things now. You can do it late. Now you only define more or less what is the requirement, but very, very high level. But the main questions about the requirements, if you remember, I passed very fast in the ROP. The ROP has a very, very nice thing. So if you just on back of some slides, when you see about the ROP, you have several stages of several interactions, several phases. Okay, L1, L2, A2, sorry, I1, H1, A2, C1, 2, 3, 4, and Q1, Q2. For each phase, okay, you need to generate one document to this phase, one other document to this phase, another document to this phase, another this phase. Most of this iterative process requires a lot of generation of document. The main concern about the RP, the people say, "Oh, the RP is not work," is because the RP generates so many documentation that the people do not code. I will show soon that one very important project, after 2, 3 years after the project starts, you don't have any line of code, but you have amazing models. Okay, because this reason, the people start saying, okay, how can do this different? And the idea is to use the agile. The agile is okay. At the time of the IOP, I just want to understand that the IOP was the most common technology. The people from the 1919, the people use the IOP in 89% of the project. Okay, and the IOP with the methodology, you need to buy a tool. There is a tool. Okay, tool. You have a support tools like, for example, today you have Eclipse. No, it's free. But at that time, you pay a lot of money to have one IDE that support the process. Okay. The agile said, okay, individuals, interactions over process and tools. Okay. So it's more important that you talk together and be clear what you want, that you try to artificially create one model that represent these things, because they continue to need to talk with you to understand what I want to say. Okay. The second thing is working software over comprehensive documentation. So remember, again, the main critics criticize to the IOP is it generates a lot of documentation. It generates a lot of overload. So the idea here is, okay, if I need to I have 1 2 hours. If I need to decide with code or document to generate documentation, I will code. Okay, it does not mean that you don't need to produce documentation. No, it means that if you have a small time, use your time to code. The most main difference in the agile approach is the client is together the developer. All the agile mode, you have one profile, one hat that is the part of the develop team is the client. Okay, the client is together. When you are in the agile model, there is no, oh, it's the problem of the software team, it's the problem of the business team. No, the business software compound one on unique team. And this type of process is going to change over from plan. I will show literally little ahead. Which approach you have in Agile? You have extreme programming. Is the first one. Nobody uses it today. It's follow exactly based in the principles of the Agile. You have the feature-driven development. You have lean software development, crystal clear. The agile unified process. I don't believe in this one. You have TDD, test development driven. BDD, behavior drive development. And you have the Scrum. Okay, Scrum is one of them. It's not the only one of them. Okay, so I give you now a stop, and I'll back to explain the Scrum. Okay. See you in a few minutes. Okay, so we start the second part that relates to Scrum. As I told before, you have several approaches, agile approach. One of them is the Scrum. So, what is the Scrum? A lot of time when you think about Scrum, you'll see this picture and say, "Oh, it's a Scrum. Nice. Good." However, Scrum is a little more than that, okay? So, to understand how the Scrum become important, you need to understand this project, the FBI Sentinel project. What happened that time is the Lockheed Martin received a contract around 305 million dollars to develop a new system, the Sentinel system for FBI. Uh, However, after some months, one additional of 120 millions was allocated for FBI to track and oversee the work. And one quarter of the budget is spent on planning and control of the project. Remember that I told you about the ROP, or the Rational Unified Process? Yes, they use the Rational Unified Process. What happens is the part of the project, 25% of the project, the people use only to generate documentation, only documents, and no code. Uh, what happens after that is, okay, I have a problem. I need some solution. And the one guy that is working in the FBI said, okay, why you don't test the Agile? And okay, I cannot put more money in that. I put, okay, give me one part of this money, and I do the same thing using the Agile and the time. I solve the problem. And what happens that time is the people allocate the money and spend $99 million, and the people design broken the 670 user store and apply the Scrum in the process and solve the problem of the FBI. Was the first case, the good is a real case of application of the agile in an enterprise level, and it make the change because the people start to say, okay, agile works. I will start to use agile in my company too. Okay, and not agile on the Scrum. Sorry, I tell you agile, but it's a Scrum. I use it specifically Scrum. What is a Scrum? Scrum is a project management framework that helps teams structure their work and deliver projects efficiently. Okay, so as I told you, Scrum is an agile framework. Okay, um, the basic idea of the Scrum is commitment. The team members agree to complete the task. Without commitment, it's not work. Courage. The team member question the status quo. So the group of the team that developed the system using the Scrum has authority or liberty to develop the things inside the thing to do what you need to do. Okay, don't need, oh, it happens like that because it needs to happen like that. No, it's different. You change. Okay, if you need to change, you change. Accountability. Uh, um, you have the accountability, interactive progress. What happens? You have a control of the process, not like a macaroni process. No, you have and the communication. Using the agile, it's an agile process. Communication. You have a channel to communicate all the time. So just one short example, it's a very uh, famous picture that try to explain what is the Scrum. Well, when you use the other approach, not agile approach, you have the project manager. Okay, the project manager is the responsible for the project. But when you have the agile, you don't have this guy. You have the project manager, but you don't. This guy is not. It's an important guy, but he's not the most important guy. The most important guy is the team, and the idea is this picture about the pig and the chicken, and say, oh, can we open a fast food that the name is hen and eggs, and the chicken proposes it for the pig, and the pig say, "Oh no, thanks. I'd be committed, but you are involved." No, so it's the things. Scrum is not for involved people. Scrum is for commitment people. First, self-organize. Uh, During the Scrum, you part of the team select the task that you think that you are good to do. Again, it's not like exactly that, no, but you try to follow. It's not people that say, oh, do that, do that. No, the people maybe suggest, but in a theoretical way, but it's happening through. You are free to select the task. If you see, oh, for example, why do you think to do that? So I'm much better to do that. So the other task. So you can do that. Um, the most important thing the Scrum is you see the progress of the progress in series of 1 or 4 weeks. The most common is 2 weeks. Each 2 weeks, 2 weeks, you have that to say that is the Dawn software or the Dawn system. What's the Dawn system? The Dawn system is a system that is document. Sorry. You have the detailed the requirements, the design, tested, and documents. If you think is this complete cycle of the SDLC. Okay, so the idea of the Scrum is to produce every X weeks, most common is 2 weeks, every sprint a done software. Okay, uh, I think it's more easy to understand the process. The basic idea of the process, the general view, the overview of the process is you have a product backlog. What is a product backlog? The product backlog is a list of things that the system needs to do. Okay, it's a list of things. Okay, the system needs to do A, needs to do B, needs to do C, D, E, F, G. Okay, and the next section you study the requirements and see how to write the things to include in the product backlog. Remember that you said that you need to produce a software every 2 to 4 weeks, but one important thing is in Scrum. If you define these 2 weeks for the whole project, it's 2 weeks. If you define that it's 1 week for the whole project, it's 1 week. If you define it's 4 weeks, it's for whole project, it's 4 weeks. You'll never change. Okay? But the name of this iteration cycle is the sprint. Okay? And you have the product backlog that has all the things that the system needs to do. And for each sprint, you define one goal. What is the goal? Is what is the reason to develop that sprint? The goal is something that makes sense or that make value for the stakeholder. Okay, so during the next 2 weeks, think that your sprint is 2 weeks. During the next 2 weeks, how the team work to solve the goal is different than to solve the tasks. You have several tasks that you need to have, but it's to solve the goal. How the people thinks and the goal. When you define the goal, you get the items from the product backlog that is related to this goal and include these items and the sprint backlog. What's the sprint backlog? Is the backlog or the list of the things that you need to do for the specific sprint. Okay? Remember, you have several tasks or features in the sprint backlog, but the work in the sprint is to solve the goal. Oh, but you said, oh, but the task and the feature is related to the goal. Yes, but you have feature that is more important to achieve the goal. You have feature that's not so important to achieve the goal. What the need to think is, okay, I'm working to solve the goal, to achieve the goal. Okay. And after the sprint, you produce a potential shippable product increment. Okay, so it's not anymore one paper, it's not anymore one document, it's not anymore something. It's a done solution. What's the done solution? Is things that you have the goal. You solve the goal, and this goal is something concrete in the software in the system. And these concrete things is documented, tested, and acceptable. Okay? And using the Scrum, you can, it's very easy to insert new items and its interaction. Okay? So inside the sprint, remember that I said about the accountability. Every day you have one ceremony. That is the name is the daily meeting. What is the daily meeting? It's a meeting where the whole group sit or not sit together because it's stand up, but meet together at the same time, at the same moment every day and say, oh, I'm doing the day I did it. For tomorrow, I will do that. And my problem is that. And there are one guy that you will see, like the Scrum Master, that responds to solve the lockout. For example, oh, I finished the code A, but I plan to work in the code B, but the server, I don't have the server's credential to solve the task B. And the Scrum Master, you'll see this guy say, okay, stay here for 55 minutes late and we'll solve your problem. So again, put everything together. You have the product backlog, define the goal, define the sprint backlog, the goal of the sprint, the sprint backlogger, daily Scrum meetings every day, and after the sprint, you have a done software or done system. It's important to say a part of this presentation is based on Mountain Gold software group that make very nice training about the Scrum. Okay, I suggest that you visit if you want to know more about this Scrum. Okay, back to Scrum Sprint. What is the Scrum Sprint? It's the set of period time during which specific work has been completed and made ready for review. Is analogous for stream program iterations. Its typical duration is 2 to 4, but the most common is 2 weeks. Okay, it has a constant duration leads to bad rhythm. You never change. Okay, you start with 2 weeks, is 2 weeks until the end. During the sprint, the project is designed, documented, coding, and tested. Okay, is a done software. So if you think about this phase, the waterfall phase, requirements, design, code, and testing, you do all of these things during each sprint. Okay, it makes that this the most amazing thing is if you have remember the curve of the cost that you will, for example, if you discover a problem in the test phase and you lost a lot of money, you don't have this phase because every 15 days you check again if you are in the path. What is document? It's a very important concept. Okay, again, it's a really important concept. What's the definition of done? Definition of done is you have code, you have tested, the code is tested, and the code is documented. Okay, done, code, tested, and documented. Oh, I didn't do the test. Okay, it's not ready to finish the sprint. You failed during the sprint. What's the gold rules? The gold rule is no change are made that you would in there's goal. Okay. After define the goal, after define the plan the sprint, okay, define which items in the back and the project backlog move to sprint backlog and start the sprint. After that, never change. You cannot change the goal. You need to keep that goal until the end of the sprint. Okay. The second golden rules is quality does not decrease. You cannot have, for example, oh, in this sprint I don't have, I didn't test my code or didn't document my code. No, it's not. Oh no, no. Produce less, but does these things. Okay. Every iteration, the product backlog is defined. One thing very common in the Scrum project is, again, think about that. When you start the project, you'll have only a general idea about the what you need to do at the end of a year or 2 years. Okay. When you start to move first sprint, second sprint, you start to see the product because you produce software and you start to see the product and start to use the software. When you start to produce the software, what changes? Oh my gosh, it's not exactly what I think. Can you change for that? And what happens, natural happens is the product backlog is defined. Okay. Uh, and the scope may be clarified when you move ahead and can be renegotiation. Now, and you have one guy that will explain in the team of the Scrum team that responds for this task. So when you think about the Scrum framework, you have three roles. There are sometimes you have others, but in the basic framework, you have three roles: the product owner, the Scrum master, and the team. What is the product owner? The product owner is the member of the team that is part of the company. What I say, it's responsible for ensure that the product follow the directions of the stakeholder. Okay, it's responsible for define. Okay, my software achieve what my stakeholder wants. In some companies, the product owner is from the company, the client. In some companies, the product owner is part of the other company that you hire to develop the system. Okay. However, where the product owner is responsible for define the features of the product, decide the release date, uh, profitability of the product, the ROI, uh, prioritize the features according to market value, adjust the features, define the plan, accept or reject the work. He has a very important work. And he is part of the team. He's not something outside. No, he's part of the team. Okay. If the Sun sprint fail, he is part of the team that failed. Okay. The second one is the Scrum Master. The Scrum Master is not the manager, it's not the boss. It's like a Jedi guy. It represents the managed part of the project. He's the guy that understands the process, understands the values of the Scrum, understands the practices of the Scrum, and it is the guy that support, that advise the group to follow the Scrum. Again, he's not the boss. Okay, he's not the boss. The main difference that he has is removing impediments. Okay, so he is responsible. For example, if you have some problems, like for example, like oh, I need a new computer, or I need access to something, or I have a problem. I need the database ready. The database is not ready yet. And this guy is the guy that responds to manage the meetings, schedule the meetings, see outside, solve the issues, remove the impediments through the project, move ahead. Okay. So, and finally, you have the team. One important thing that the Scrum team has the 5 to 9 people, okay, is cross-functional. You have programmer, tester, user design, members. Part of the members should be a full-time. Part of members is only, for example, part-time or doing specific sprint, like for example, database administrator. You don't need, for example, you need 3 hours a day for database administrator. Is part of the team. The teams are self-organized. Okay, there is no titles, and yeah. So it's really important. You have to be on it fast. There is no hierarchy. You are a group. The PO, the Scrum Master, and the team, all of them, nobody is boss the other. You are a team. If one fail, everybody fail. It's the key idea of the Scrum. Scrum has some ceremonies. Okay, So it's not a lot, but there are some ceremonies. The first one is sprint planning. What is the sprint planning? Remember that you have the product backlog, okay? In the product backlog, you have a meeting that you'll see, okay, what's in my team capacity? Who is involved in this sprint? I have database administrator, I don't have. I have a security guy, I don't have. Okay. So the second one is check the product backlog. Okay. And check what's the goal of this sprint. Okay. And the POs say, okay, oh, the goal of the sprint is A or is B or is C. And uh, and check the product backlog to see what is the features that is inside the product backlog. The business condition. Again, the PO is responsible to check the business condition. Okay, what my stakeholder want? What is the current situation of the business? The current product. Okay, what you already have developer? What is don't have developer? And the technology. I have the technology. For example, I need, for example, a new servers, or I need to wait a little more. Some library be stable. I have all the things that I need to develop these features. So when you analyze all of these features, all these things, sorry, I select the sprint goal, okay, and define what you is the goal, okay, and with the sprint goal, you start to define the sprint planning, defining how to achieve each sprint goal, okay, which task is required, create the sprint backlog that is the task that implement we'll see in the next class, the user store that you have in the product backlog, uh, and estimate how much hours, how many people is required to finish the task. And the output is the sprint backlog. So again, the team selects items from the product backlog. Remember, the product backlog, you study it in the future, okay? So you have the user stores. What is a user store? Is a user store different than the requirements, regular requirements, is like a business agreement about what is developed, okay? For example, here you have a user store, okay? As a vacation planner, who, okay, he represent the who is the that he is about to use the store. I want to see photos of the hotels. It's what he wants, okay. It's not the tail, okay. It's a very broad information about what what do you need to develop, okay. So based in this use store that is in the product backlog, you need to define tasks, okay, to implement that. First, code the middle tier and define how much hours. Code the user interface, write the test features, code the full class, update the perform tests, and so on, okay? These things is in the sprint backlog. The user store is in oh my gosh, in the product backlog. Okay, after you define the plan, you move to the daily Scrum meeting. Okay, what is the daily Scrum meeting? Every day at the same time, stand up to the people. Don't talk about the soccer, the football, or the party. Okay, during this day, every day you have 15 minutes meeting and stand up. Okay, it's not a problem solving, but it's more to understand what is the current status of the development. Okay, everybody can participate, but only the team member can talk. For example, the stakeholder can participate in this meeting, but don't talk. It's moot. Okay, so only the team member talk. What you talk, everyone needs to answer three questions. What did you do yesterday? What you do today? Uh, and is anything in a way, okay, any issues, okay? Again, it's not a status for the Scrum Master. Scrum Master is not the boss, but the goal is that commitments in the front of the peers. Okay, for example, sometimes say, okay, I need that you finish the task one. And if a guy did not finish the task one, I cannot finish my task. It's the type of thing that you describe. But the solution for that is not in this 15-minute meeting. Okay, what you do is the Scrum Master, when listen these things, they say, for example, things that you have only this problem. Oh, to finish the task one, I need that you finish the task two. And the Scrum Master say, okay, after the meeting, can you stay here for 50 minutes to discuss that? And the Scrum Master follow up the meeting and discuss how to solve the problem. The meeting is only awareness about the status of the project. Okay? So I need to stop to share because I'm not sure if I share with audio. Okay, share sounds. Okay. Okay, now you have the sound because I have a video. So I will show one video that explain what is the daily meeting. Okay.
Yeah.
It's stand-up time. Everybody good to go?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, Ryoko. We're just getting started. I have you on speakerphone.
Oh, hello, everybody.
Hey, Ryoko.
Hi, Ryoko.
Ryoko.
Okay. Who wants to start?
I don't like talking in public or at all, really.
Harold, please, the floor is yours.
Yesterday, I finished the source code for the recipe request voice interface, and I ran the unit test, so that's done. But these stand-ups are okay. You only have to answer 3 questions. What did you do yesterday? What are you doing today? And what is your main impediment? Today, I am working on passing the request parameters to the recipe search code. It's structured. It's fast. It's painless. My main impediment is still my lack of knowledge of the speech recognition engine. Ryoko is our expert, and she's been a wonderful help, but with the time difference, it's just challenging.
Okay, that's very good, Harold. But we need to resolve that. Ryoko,
Hi.
can you send me your schedule? I will look into getting travel approval.
Okay, I'll do that.
Thanks, Ryoko. Why don't you go next?
Okay, sure. Today I reviewed.
The daily stand-up is one of the team's most important rituals. In just 15 minutes, we see what everyone is up to. We update the iteration wall and see opportunities to help others remove blockers.
I said, Bill in infrastructure. I said, Bill, it's not 1985 anymore.
Okay, move ahead. Okay, before I start to talk about the screen review, am I back to slide?
Yeah.
Okay.
During this video, I think you could see, for example, several important information. For example, the first one is, okay, stop what you're doing in the time that you have the daily meeting. Okay, the daily meeting is more important than any other test that you have. Okay, and the reason is because you need to everybody participate. Everybody needs to agree on one specific time. It's the time. Okay. The second one is it's fast. Okay. You don't need to explain in detail, blah, 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 blah. No, you need to report. Okay, what I'm doing, what I did, what I'm doing, what is the problem. And fast. Okay. The discussions about the technical discussion is not in the sprint that you need to do, it's after the sprint in some time. That's the Scrum Master responsible to help the organization. Okay. And everybody needs to pay attention. Is the time 50 minutes, 20 minutes or more? Is the time that is the most important time of day because in this time you really understand what happens in the program. It's very hard to do this at the beginning, but the benefits you see after 1-2 sprints. Okay, so and it really don't matter if you have a guy in the Japan, the guy needs to wake up early and participate because the time is like okay, the time is the time. You need to go. Okay, Uh, okay, after the sprint, you work in 2 weeks or every day, daily sprint. Okay, develop a focus on the goal, develop the done software. Okay, you have a result after the sprint. After the sprint, you have a meeting. I want to say more that's the sprint review. The sprint review is the time that the stakeholder or representative of the stakeholder will be in the meeting and talk. Okay, you invite everybody that you want, but during this sprint review is the time that your client will see for 1 hour, 2 hours, don't matter. No slides, it's show, it's a demo. Okay, the sprint review is not to show PowerPoint. You don't use PowerPoint. You show the product. You show the done product that you develop. I have a fun thing. The first time that I have a contact with the Scrum was in 1998. In the 1998, we defined to develop. We have one project in Brazil to migrate to open source software most of the proprietary software that you have inside the force. And it's not a software developer, it's integration, more related to integration. You have developers, most part is integration, implementation, deployment project. And I'm major from the force, and I have sergeants and lieutenants that work with me. And the sergeant is most of the time you receive the orders and do the and accomplish the order. And we did the training, sprint training, and say in the beginning, say, okay, inside the project, you are part of the Scrum team. You don't have, I'm not the boss. Okay? I'm not the boss. Lieutenant that is here, because I'm not involved directly in the project, I'm in another level. And the lieutenant here is not the boss. He is the Scrum Master. He's to facilitate. For example, if you have a problem, he works to facilitate your work. Okay? He didn't give you orders. Okay? So in the first sprint review, I invite the general to be part of the meeting. I spend a time to explain what is the sprint, how it works, and the general go to the meeting. And okay, we open the meeting, and I talk and I introduce the group, and the Scrum Masters go and introduce yourself, introduce the group, and okay, guys, do the demo. And the guy want to walk, everybody walk, move your head to the lieutenant, see lieutenant. And the lieutenant say, no, it's a Scrum, I'm not the boss. And the general said, yes, he's not the boss. And you, in my opinion, you didn't accomplish the work. This sprint failed. I will back in 15 days and I want to see something better than today. The consequence was a complete transformation of the team. For example, I remember that it's very hard to people to say, "Hey, can you stay a little more, 10 minutes after the work time to solve this problem?" Yes, it's military. You need to do, but it's not do happy. Okay, do because you need to do. So what's changed? The sergeant and the soldiers become to see it's my problem. I'm the stars, not only star, but my group is the stars. Okay, the focus is on me. It's good. I have a freedom to do what I need to do. So, at the second sprint, wow. The third sprint, wow. And we planned more or less 2 years to make the migration. You did the migration in 6 months. In the 6 months, only 6 months. Okay. So and now in the place that I work in the Brazilian force, 80% of the systems is open source. Only the ones that is not possible that is proprietary. So okay, you did the review with the stakeholders, with the clients, and you have the retrospective. The retrospective, do spend 15 to 30 minutes, is the louder is the time that you be honest. Polite, but be honest. You talk about what you need to start doing, what you need to stop to doing, and what you need to continue to do. Okay, so it's the main reason. It's not to say I don't like you, I hate you, you are stupid. No, it's not because of that. For example, everyone needs to say, okay, I think that the group needs to start doing these things because blah, 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 blah. Not because the guy, no, because the group needs these things. Or I think that we need to stop to doing, for example, I need to stop too late for the Scrum meeting. Okay? So, this is amazing. We did it. It's worked very well. We need to continue doing that things. Okay? It's the all the same mornings. It's a lot, but it's not a lot. So, the next phase is the artifacts. Okay? So, what is the things that you need to develop during the Scrum? The first one is it's the whole cycle. Remember the phase, no? Uh, Okay, go ahead. Oh, you have the product backlog. That is the time that you define what the system needs to do. You do the beginning of the project, but it's interactive every iterations or every sprint you can revisit and find. You have the sprint goal that define what you do during the sprint. Based on the sprint goal, you select the items in this product backlog and transferring tasks in the sprint backlog. And you start the sprint, in this case here, 30 days, but it's most of the time is 15 days. During the 15 days, every day you do the daily scrum. The daily scrum, you realign, you have awareness what you're doing, realign the path, and after the sprint, you develop the incremental software done. Okay. Remember that you have two more ceremonies here. The first one is the reviews, sprint review, and the second one is the sprint retrospective. Product backlog. The product backlog, you have the requirements, okay? A list of all desirable works on the project, okay? Each item needs to have value to the user or customer, okay? You cannot have in the backlog something that not generate, that does not have values. For example, in the backlog, you don't have, like, for example, generate the security test. Security test does not generate money. Yeah, it's generated, but it's not part of the system. Most of the time, the system is not generating testing. Okay. The user store must be something like, okay, as a stakeholder, I want that my system don't have or have at least 99% of availability, for example. And after, when you create the sprint backlog, you transfer this 99% of availability and testings and design creations and the threat modeling and other things. Okay? All the members participate, the product owner, the stakeholders, and the team. Okay? So, but the prioritization is did by the product owner. Why not stakeholder does it? Because the stakeholders does not understand exactly how the team is organized. Okay, again, the product owner need to prioritize the items based on what the stakeholder want. But who is responsible is the product owner. Oh yes, and you reprioritize at the start of each sprint. You can move and adjust the list. Examples. Backlog item. Allow a guest to make reservation. As a guest, I want to cancel reservation. As a guest, I want to change the data and so on. Okay, and some estimation. The second time is the sprint goal. What is the sprint goal? The sprint goal is a short statement of that work will be focused during the sprint. For example, support features necessary for population genetic studies. Make the application run on SQL Server in addition to Oracle. Or support more technical indicators than company ABC with real-time sprint data. Okay, these examples of different type of sprint goals. With this sprint goal, you create the sprint backlog. The sprint backlog is the list of tasks identified by the Scrum team to be completed during the Scrum sprint. The sprint backlog is not responsible for the PO, okay? The PO participates in the sprint backlog. Remember, the product stakeholder, PO, and the team work to create the product backlog. PO prioritize, and the PO define with the team what's the goal, and you create the sprint backlog. Okay. So once you define the sprint backlog, individuals sign for the work. Okay, for example, you have several tasks, and each one select, oh, I will do this task, I will do this task. The Scrum Master can help. Sometimes you have a team leaders that can make a better organization. Say, oh, Junior, don't do that. I think they will match you better to do task B. You have this adjustment. It's again, it's not socialism. No, it's ready produce software. For example, examples of Spring Backlog. You have a code user interface, code mid-tire, test the mid-tire, write to online help, write the full class, add error logging. And if you see here, you'll see, for example, code user interface, I spent 8 hours or 8 points here, 4 points here, 8 points here, and so on, okay? One important graph that you have is the sprint burn down chart. How it works. Okay, I go back here. So sorry. Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay, so every day you calculate the amount of hours that you spend for day by day. For example, on the Tuesday, you have 4 to 6 is 10, 30, 32 hours, okay? What you do? You save in Tuesday, more or less 32 hours, and so on, okay? Oh my gosh. And you, it's not finished. Oh, it's finished, yes. Okay, there is animation, sorry about that. Okay, and we'll do that, and you create this sprint burn down chart. The idea of the sprint burn down chart is to follow the productivity of the team. Okay, more than that, the sprint down, you create one's name that is the concept. It's not involved in this course, but it's concept that is the name is velocity. Okay, the velocity is more or less is the efficient of the Scrum teams. Okay, during the sprint, and you have the daily Scrum. So I have another video for you, okay? During this video, you show the whole process, okay? Not only the daily meeting, but you have a daily meeting too, but it's the whole process, okay? I show the video, and after I discuss the video, okay?
Hi, I'm Ravi, the Chief Functional Architect of Application Lifecycle Management. We are now at the HP Software R&D site where we develop our products. In this short movie, I would like to share with you our Agile methodology as part of our development process for quality-centered products. Today, it's actually a very good opportunity to do it as we are starting a new iteration planning process.
Hi, good morning.
Hey, good morning. What's up?
Good, how are you?
I'm okay, thank you. Did you have a chance to review the backlog item for the meeting?
I think we need to do some adjustments.
Okay, why is that?
There is the upgrade verification, which I think we need to push to this sprint and not later on.
And do you really think that that's a critical item, that we need to give it a higher priority than what we have right now?
That's one of the most important things for our customers. It will become riskier later on.
Did you have a chance already to discuss it with the rest of the team?
Not yet.
Okay, so let's go to the meeting. I think we are already running late. So I guess adding this one will require some customer validation. Do you really think that we can afford it at this point?
I think it's critical. We can talk to the QA cost team to see if they can help us.
Okay, so let's start to discuss it as part of this meeting, and we'll see what are the right adjustments that we should make. Hi, good morning.
Good morning, David. Good morning, Noi. Let's start with the sprint planning. You can see on the screen the current backlog of the sprint. Lior, can you say something about our quality?
Sure. Like we all said in the retrospective, the quality is not good enough. So we definitely need to invest more time in our estimates to reflect more testing.
And about current backlog list, do you all agree about the content?
Actually, there is one item from future sprints that I think we should move to this sprint about the upgrade verification. I think we should do it in this sprint as it will become much more riskier in future sprints rather than do it now.
But no, an item that involves upgrade will require a lot of development effort and is very risky. And as we already have too many items for this iteration, I don't see how we can do that.
I agree, but I think we can look at the backlog items and see what we can push on to the next sprints that has low priority.
Rev, you know very well the content. Can you suggest something to remove?
Yes, application installer is on a lower priority, so I think we can push it ahead to the next sprint if you all agree on that.
Yeah.
Do you agree? Okay, I will update the backlog.
Leo, just one more question. Do you really think we will have our customers available for validation within this sprint?
Actually, we have a great opportunity because some of them are visiting us during the next sprint. So we can leverage them to help us with the testing.
Okay, makes sense.
So I think we all agree. Thank you very much.
Let's go.
Let's go for a walk.
Okay, so I started testing the edit schema XML yesterday, and it passed. So I'm gonna move it to done, and today I'm gonna take this defect and start testing it.
Okay. I'm currently working on repository mechanism, and I hope it will be finished today for QA testing.
Well, I started working on the upgrade, but I'm afraid it's going to take much more time than we thought because it's a very risky area and every code change requires a lot of testing.
Is there any assistance you can get in order to proceed quickly?
Setting the environment for testing the upgrade is taking a lot of time, so that can be a great help.
So tomorrow I have a status meeting. I will raise this issue and see if we can get any assistance.
Okay.
I will update afterward.
All right, let me know if you need any help. Till then.
Great.
Okay.
So as you can see on the board, the burn down shows there is a gap between the plan and the progress. Beside this gap, there is a problem of content that is yet not reflected in our backlog. Together, we can see here a problem and a risk on our delivery date of the project.
So we need to do the right adjustment in order to meet the timeline, but we need to make sure that the upgrade validation process that we've agreed on at the beginning of the iteration will happen as part of this sprint.
Now, is there any option QA will assist in order to shorten the development time around this area?
I guess that we can assist with deploying whatever environment needed in order to get the cycle ready, get the cycle running as soon as possible.
At least at my end, I think that it will be quite helpful if we can deliver for you guys some unofficial piece of code and to get feedback. That will be helpful as well.
Yeah, sure. We'll be more than happy to start performance testing on an unofficial build. It will enable us to give a faster response and will not be surprised.
That will be great. Faster response will also enable dev to fix issues earlier and with lower cost. Let's follow up on this and see the progress and hopefully we get closer to the plan and solve this gap problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you. As you can see, we pay a lot of attention to our planning process. The fact that we use Quality Center in order to manage and track the iteration help us to make sure that all the relevant stakeholders will be synced along the process. Eventually, that helps us to ensure that we deliver the right content on the right time to our customers. Now you will need to excuse me, there's another sprint that needs to start.
Okay, so this gal here is a Scrum Master. Did you see she is involved in several different teams? Because she don't have, her work is to support the team, okay? It's a very nice because it's good because she, at the end of this video, she moved to another meeting because she has another group to support, okay? During this, you have the whole process of the Scrum. You have a meeting to discuss the planning, you have a daily meeting, you have discussion about the results, you have the solution, discussions about solution. So it's a very, very nice example how to use. Okay, I know that you don't have a practice. It's not feasible to do this practice. Again, it's not a course, a soft security, it's not a software engineering course that you need to develop a system. But my suggestion for you is to try to practice this approach when you have a work group. Don't try to divide, oh, you do that, you do that. Try to work in this process. It's very useful. When you move to the companies, you have the opportunity to you already knows. A second opportunity that you have is in the capstone project. Unfortunately, parts of the students didn't understand the reason to capstone project and thinks, oh, it's like an homework or like an exam. Okay, try to simulate. Use the select one guy to be a scrum master and work together in the daily deliverables of it's not possible daily and two days deliverables. Create the one time that you meet everybody. If it's not again, it's a capstone project. You have a class, but every 2 days or every day is a nice. Use the time that the school provide to test these things. And for example, if you are in the capstone project, ask for your mentoring. Oh, I did situation during the daily meetings, how to solve. Okay, so yeah. Okay, just to finalize, and I finalize in a few slides. First, I think it's very easy to understand the difference between the waterfall and the agile. Of the waterfall, you plan one time and you follow the plan. In the agile, you plan, then during the next phase you plan again, then plan again until you deploy. But the main difference is you plan, deploy, plan, deploy, plan, deploy in the timeline. When you see the benefits, for example, in the waterfall, because in the beginning you only plan, you don't spend a lot of money, and the risk is quite in control. Okay. In the agile, it's become very more clear when you study the requirements, but because the requirement is quite broad, you don't define the detail. It's like an agreement between the business and the technical team. You have a lot of risk involved. But again, you continue don't have to spend a lot of money, but you start to produce software from the beginning. Okay, and what happens in the timeline that you continue to produce more software and the risk start to decrease. For example, here's 4 dice, here's 6 dice. When you be at the end of the project, you produce a lot of code. The cost is under control and the risk is very, very low. However, in the waterfall, when you move ahead, you increase a lot your risk. Most of the time, the deployment is not the same, and you lost a lot of much money. So when you compare iterative and the agile, the main difference is, remember, in the iterative process, you have the first iteration, you have the planning, and the last iteration, you have the deployment. And the agile, you have in all the iterations, you have planning and deployment. Is the main difference between agile and iterative.